Welcome to the Think Factory podcast. We got one question for you. What keeps you up at night?
Welcome back to the Think Factory podcast, powered by OGC Solutions, and I'm Chris Santomassimo, the host, and I'm with OGC Solutions, of course, and I'm on site in Georgia with the CEO, Caroline Kirk of Kirk Rudy. So welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Chris. Great to have you here today. Thanks for coming out. Really excited to be chatting with you.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And what I love is the ability to see actually how you do what you do. And we've done a plant tour and seen a bunch of happy folks that are making the equipment and making the parts all right here in Georgia.
For sure. I think that's something that definitely sets Kirk Rudy apart is, our people. First of all, we have an excellent team, a lot of tenure here. We've been around for, 55 plus years, and we have a lot of folks who've been here for 10, 20, 30, even 40 plus years. So lots of really great people. And yeah, we make a lot of our parts and of course our systems in-house. So it's really cool to show off and, kind of give you a tour. Glad you could check it out and see for yourself.
Oh, that's terrific. So what I'd love to do, Caroline, is just talk a little bit about Kirk Rudy, the history and exactly what you do for folks that are either not familiar with Kirk Rudy or maybe even thinking about creating a partnership with Kirk Rudy.
For sure. So my grandfather, Harry Kirk, actually started Kirk Rudy back in 1967. He was working for a company called Cheshire out in Libertyville, Illinois. And my grandpa had actually emigrated from the Czech Republic. So when he came over to the U.S., he did not have a formal education or contacts or anything like that. And when he was out at Cheshire, he was up for a promotion, wanted a promotion, but his manager said that, since he didn't have a college degree, they couldn't give him the job. So he kind of went off, started his own company with a couple of trusted coworkers, and Kirk Rudy was born. Moved everything down to Georgia in the 1970s. And since then, operations have just, continued to grow. Now we have a global presence, all around the world. We sell custom and specialized solutions for the mailing and packaging industries. Our real bread and butter, and I think what we kind of started off super successful with was, a lot of equipment in the mailing world. And then in the 90s, really started to get involved with inkjet technology. That's continued through today. We do a lot of really great printing systems. And one of our more recent markets that, we've really gotten involved with is the packaging world, and specifically RFID. There's a lot going on with RFID technology, and, we're keeping a close eye on that. And we have some systems that offer some really great solutions in that area. So we do a lot of cool stuff. But I would say kind of our core areas that we like to serve are kind of mailing and packaging.
Talk about RFID for folks that aren't familiar with it. And you and I know that is really a growing concern when it comes to packaging. But talk about what it is and how it affects the packaging market.
Sure. So RFID, radio frequency identification, it's a way to help track, whatever it is you really want to track. So a lot of companies have been using it to keep track of inventory and make sure that they know where their products are at any given time. So this helps with supply chain. It also helps with, theft. I know that a lot of companies have, implemented RFID technologies to try and help with shoplifting and other things like that. And another interesting application is, just keeping track of what's actually in the store. So Walmart has rolled out a mandate where they're requiring certain product types to be labeled with an RFID tag so that they can make sure that they know, what's in store and what's kind of available for shoppers. And this started a couple years ago. Since then, they've added more and more products to their list that they are requiring to be RFID compliant. So this is a trend that we expect to continue to grow and to continue to see, more and more interest with. So yeah, a lot of kind of different use cases, but we're definitely seeing growth and something that, we expect to continue trending into the future.
So RFID really gives Walmart, in your example, the ability to have a real-time inventory, exactly what's in the store as compared to what might be inaccurate data in the system.
Yeah, definitely. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a quick study on this.
Yeah, you are. picking it up.
Talk about what you do in the mailing industry. In fact, I saw your team with a pretty impressive booth down at the National Postal Forum earlier this week.
Sure. So in the mailing world, we, do a lot. I think that was kind of our first big industry that, we were focused on serving. We do a lot with tabbing. Those little booklets that sometimes you get in the mail, and there's little tabs on there to make sure it doesn't go flying open. And I know there's postal regulations, for certain types of mailing products that, need to be tabbed and closed up. So we do that. We do mailing and addressing systems. We have custom software that runs, a lot of our inkjet technology, and that's called Code with a K, so Kode. And Code, has variable data capabilities. So, our customers can buy systems that enable them to print custom and variable, content onto envelopes or other, types of samples that folks would want to send out to customers in the mail.
Pretty high speed, no less.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We definitely have some super fast systems. I think some of our stuff is like the fastest in the world. So it's, pretty cool.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But you've also got a lot of longevity among your customers in terms of the life cycle of the products. We were talking about some of your customers that have, machines that go back into the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I like to joke that it's like sometimes our systems are almost too well built. We literally have people that are still running Kirk Rudy systems, that they bought in like the 70s or the 80s. And they'll call us up, if it breaks down, and, we'll help them out. Like I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of tenure. So we have folks that have been here, since that time. And they will get involved and support that system. And it's pretty cool to see the durability of, the creations that we put out there in the world. I've visited customer sites, across the country and in other countries, and it's pretty wild to see some of the old school systems, still out there kicking it and still playing a role in people's operations. It's pretty cool to see.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I love the story about your grandfather, too, just getting that spark lit because he got declined on a promotion and being the entrepreneur that starts a company like this that's lasted all these years.
Yeah. I mean, he was a really incredible guy. I mean, he, like I said, grew up in the Czech Republic. And then when the Soviets kind of came in, I know he had a tough time, really wanted to make something of himself, really hard worker. I mean, that was, I think if I had to describe him, in just like one little phrase, it would just be hard working man. That was really his life, biggest value, I would say, in his life was hard work. And he really wanted to make it and came over literally with nothing. The story goes that all he had was his toothbrush when he was living in a refugee camp, and then somebody stole his toothbrush. So like he didn't even have that, and came over, built something out of nothing, and just really what an incredible life. He's an inspiration for sure. Yeah.
And so you took over the CEO position about a year and a half ago, right?
I did. Yeah.
And look, from some of the things I've seen around the production floor, you've made some pretty impressive upgrades technologically and otherwise since you rose to that position.
Yeah, we've been busy for sure. We've focused a lot on operations and, really looking at continuous improvement principles and how we can better capitalize on the institutional knowledge that we have from the staff here. Like I said, we have really great tenure, lots of really deep, rich knowledge among the staff here. So, I have been hyper-focused on finding ways that we can really give people more of a seat at the table and empower, the staff here to have a say in how we do things and encourage folks, if you see a better way of doing something, like let us know. Before working at Kirk Rudy, I was working in the startup world in New York City, and startup life is all about, kind of move fast, break things. If you see a better way of doing something, try it. People are equal. It's not this kind of hierarchy, stuffy, like scary environment. It's exciting and people care and there's some passion there. So I've been, really trying to bring some of that energy and spirit, and incorporating that here at Kirk Rudy. And it's been really like magical to see, some of the staff that's been here for decades, really get involved on kind of a different level, and, seeing their suggestions and, recommendations come to life in a new way has just been really fulfilling and super cool. So loving that.
Well, you finally give them a voice to figure out, or give them a different paradigm also to figure out, what can we do better, but why are we doing that crazy stuff?
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're doing it for so long, you
right.
just get used to it. Right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. It's like when you're at something for 55 years, it's like you can have the best intentions and, think you've got it kind of figured out, but it's never a bad thing to, kind of come in and look under the hood and just kind of pause and reevaluate every once in a while. Is this the best way of doing something? Is there a better way? How can we kind of challenge ourselves to really push it and, see how far we can improve on this.
That's great.
Yeah.
So maybe talk about some of the products that are on the horizon for Kirk Rudy.
Ooh. Well, I can tell you that we are, doing more with RFID. Our kind of standard RFID solutions at the moment are fairly robust. So, we're looking at some potentially more entry-level, friendly kind of solutions that would allow, new market entrants to work with RFID more efficiently, but have maybe a more accessible price point to enter that market. So that's one thing that we're looking at. And then we're always exploring new inkjet technologies. We have found a partner that, we're pretty excited about. We think that we may have a collaboration on the horizon that brings us into a bit of a kind of new customer application. When we bring it to market, I can tell you more. But you'll need to come back down here and we can, fill you in on it. Yeah. But looking at some new kind of cool inkjet packaging applications too.
Great.
Yeah.
And we also talked about the FireJet 4C.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit.
Sure. So the FireJet is one of our inkjet systems. It is a collaboration with Memjet and uses their Duraflex technology. So the FireJet is a really great way for, mailers and packaging folks to run an inkjet, production grade, heavy duty system at a much more affordable price point. We've sold, hundreds of systems that are out in the wild. Folks love it. It is super fast, very reliable, very durable, and it's just at a really great price point. So if you ever want to check it out, it's listed all on our website. We have some really great videos and brochures, so check it out.
Well, Todd, where can they reach the website? What is it?
Good question. It's just www.kirkrudy.com, and it's Kirk is Kirk and Rudy is Rudy.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for introducing us to Kirk Rudy today, or maybe reintroducing some folks
that
will listen to the podcast.
Yeah, well, thanks again for coming out. This was awesome. Yeah.
We just try and make it easy, right?
Yeah, too easy.
Yeah. Well, maybe not so much too easy, but easy enough, let's say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you. This has been Caroline Kirk, the CEO of Kirk Rudy down here in Georgia. And signing off, this is Chris Santomassimo from OGC Solutions, and we power the Think Factory podcast. We'll see you next time.